Kyle Tucker's signing is finally official with the Dodgers, where he'll be batting in the heart of the order, locking down right field. This wasn't free agency, this was a power move.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? I'm Harry Ruiz. That's Travis Rodgers, and it's time for Locked On Dodgers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. On today's show, a Dodgers legend may not have thrown his final pitch. That's interesting because Kershaw is headed to the World Baseball Classic, and we need to talk about what that really means. The Dodgers struck with Kyle Tucker, then suddenly New York, both teams start moving pieces like it's a chessboard on fire. But first, we'll break down Tucker's role, which Dave Roberts made loud and clear in his introductory press conference.
Yeah, he's going to be right in the middle of it. He's going to be one of their best guys. And look, they got a great player. Nobody's arguing that he is going to be an incredibly impactful player. I'm excited to see him.
No doubt about it. You'll hear Travis holding it down weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on the Travis and DeMarco show on 710 ESPN LA. And if you're outside SoCal or away from a radio, the ESPN LA app has you covered wherever you are. For me, when I'm not calling USC football or Raiders games in Espanol, this is where I lock in, talking Dodger baseball with you. If you're just finding this show, welcome aboard. You're in the right spot. And if you're here every day, you already know this community is what makes this thing go. Shout out to our boy Rumor Spencer over on Twitter. We see him in the comments every day on YouTube. Great take that you had over there. Are you watching on YouTube? Like Rumor? Hit like. Drop your thoughts in the comments and make sure that you're subscribed. Listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get pods, a quick 5-star review goes a long way in helping more Dodgers fans find the show. And don't forget, you can always jump into the conversation on the Locked On Dodgers listener line, 279-3-LOCKED or 279-356-2533. A lot of reactions, Travis, to yesterday's voicemails, and that's something that we love. We love interacting with our listeners. We're not going to agree on everything that we say, but everyone has a voice here on Locked On Dodgers. And someone that we're going to be talking a lot about is Kyle Tucker, who officially arrived in Los Angeles. He stood out there at Dodger Stadium, pulled that Dodgers jersey, and officially joined what is now the most loaded roster in baseball again. And right away, Travis, Dave Roberts told us something very important. Batting second or third, right fielder Kyle Tucker. That's big for the Dodgers because we were doing our prediction. We were having him down there either cleanup, fifth. No, he's going to be right behind either Shohei Ohtani or Mookie Betts.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see exactly where he does land because, I think there's an argument to be made that the Dodgers might, I think they can kind of tinker with this a little bit, do a left, right thing right on down the order, which would make matchups incredibly challenging. Now, guys like Freddie Freeman and Kyle Tucker and Shohei Ohtani are not really, side dependent on what sort of hitter or pitcher they're facing. So maybe it's not as important. But if Ohtani's going to stay in the leadoff spot, and there's no reason to think that he won't, right? Then you're going to put Tucker in second or third. Well, Tucker will either go right up against Ohtani or he'll go right up against Freeman. So it means that you're going to have 3 left-handed bats in the first 4 guys, Mookie being the one exception as a right-hander. So I think it's interesting where he's going to go. Now, usually you're trying to do that little left-right thing, and I understand why. It makes some sense, but this may be one of these, hey, look, let's not get too cute about this. Let's just stack these guys up as far as who our best guy first, second best guy second, third best guy third, and right on down the order because you have so much firepower in there. But I agree with you. It caught me a little by surprise. I thought maybe he would slot in somewhere after Ohtani, Betts, Freeman, and then kind of figure it out from there. But he's going to be right in the middle of it. And that's good news for everybody. That's good news for Tucker. That's good news for Ohtani. That's good news for Mookie. That's good news for Freddie. That's good news for Will Smith and Max Muncy and whoever else is going to be batting in front of or behind those guys, because there is no soft spot and no pitcher gets a chance to take a deep breath.
And what's the one thing that we've been hearing the moment that he signed? It's like, well, he's not going to have the responsibility of the world on his shoulders, which he won't. But at the same time, with Dave Roberts coming up and saying, like, okay, we know who's going to be leading off, but Tucker's going to be batting either second or third. That shows you it's like, hey, man, they didn't give him a nearly or if you just go year by year, a $60 million contract per season just to be like, okay, you're going to come and help us with our weak spot in this roster. And that's all we need. It's like, no, we're paying you, but we're expecting big production for you. We're going to put you in the spot of the lineup where it's like you're up there with the big dogs, not right behind them. You're going to be one of those guys. You're going to be one of our guys. And playing right field is something that we expected. Teoscar Hernandez shifting over to left, Andy Baez staying at center field. But I'll be completely honest, I was a little bit shocked when I heard either second or third, because now we look at the lineup, and if you try to be left, right, you would be putting Freddie potentially down even to fifth in the lineup behind Will Smith, which at the end of the day, Travis, you have Freddie Freeman a year older and Will Smith coming off of potentially his best season when it comes back to batting average wise. And I wouldn't have an issue with that, but Ohtani, Betts, Tucker, Smith, Freeman, Teoscar, Muncy, Baez, Edman, you would still have the left, right that Dave Roberts loves doing. But I'm at a point where I'm like, I honestly don't think it makes a difference if you do have the alternating sides of the batter's box right there. This is a fantastic move for the boys in blues, because we know it's not just a complimentary bat. This isn't a we'll figure it out later signing. This is a franchise altering player that it's like, man, you already had many of those and you add one more to the list.
Yeah, I you could put him anywhere. I might stop a little short of franchise altering because they're already doing what they're doing. It doesn't change the direction. It just keeps it going in the same direction that it's been going in. But you're right. And I think what makes it even more, pliable, flexible is that you have a group of guys that are pretty much egoless. That if Freddie Freeman all of a sudden is hitting fifth, he's not looking around like, hey, what the heck's going on around here? I'm Freddie Freeman. I'm going to the Hall of Fame. Both of those things are true, but he's not he'll bat wherever he wants to, wherever they ask him to do it. It's not like he's going to get deep into his feelings because, hey, man, I've hit third my entire life. What are you doing having me hit fifth? Well, the reason you're hitting fifth is because this is what's best for the team, at least theoretically. This is what allows us to be the most dangerous lineup, at least theoretically. And he would certainly understand that. So it allows them to do a lot of things. As far as not asking Tucker to carry a lot of water, every Dodger's asked to carry a lot of water, and none of the Dodgers, maybe with the exception of Ohtani, are asked to do anything particularly out of the ordinary. Only Ohtani is Ohtani, right? So you kind of slide him over to a special category, but Mookie doesn't need to do anything other than be Mookie Betts. Freddie doesn't need to do anything other than be Freddie. And that's true for Tucker. It's true for Teo. It's true for Edman. It's true for all of those guys 2 through 9. So I think there's pressure, but I don't think there's anything new about it other than he's making a lot of money. It's new fans. You want to impress a little bit. So I expect him to slide in and have very little adjustment period. There'll be some, because there's always going to be some with new teammates, new stadium, new fans, new pressures of money and all that stuff. But talent is talent, and talent always plays.
No doubt about it. And you brought up Shohei Ohtani. I want to give a shout out to Fredo Cervantes from the Sporting Tribune, who posted a video when he walked into Dodger Stadium. Who was out in the outfield at Dodger Stadium? Shohei Ohtani, working out on January 21st, when a lot of players are still either in their hometowns and their home bases where they're at before baseball season starts, and they're restricted to being in the same place for over 6 months. Shohei was already out there at Chavez Ravine, and it's something where it's like, dude, he's the best player potentially ever in baseball. And you see this type of dedication where I'm sure, Travis, that it's not just because Kyle Tucker had his introductory press conference that he was out there. It's something that he's more than likely doing every single day to continue being the best player in baseball for as long as possible. That was awesome.
Two things with that. And I saw the same video you're talking about. It was amazing. Number one, because he was in a t-shirt and shorts, we don't typically see Ohtani in that. Ohtani almost always wears long sleeves. When we almost always see him in a full Dodger uniform or some sort of, suit or something like that. So it's rare to see him in casual clothes. He's enormous. He is
Mhm.
such a big man, and it's just like, wow, you kind of lose track of just how physically imposing he actually is. That was number one. Number two, I wasn't surprised at all. That you know what doesn't happen by accident. He doesn't just show up at the ballpark that day and start cranking out 55 home runs. It's because from the time he was a little kid, his goal has been to be the greatest baseball player of all time, to break barriers, to become the first two-way player in a million years and do it at the highest level. Of course he's out there. Of course he's working harder than everyone else. He's better than everyone else. And it was cool to see. I'm with you. I thought it was really, really neat to see, but I wasn't surprised that he was out there. I bet he gave himself maybe a couple of weeks, maybe a month after the end of the season, but right back into it after that. This stuff doesn't happen by accident.
And Travis, the Dodgers, they didn't just sell him on winning, on culture, on continuity. It's like, dude, everybody here is bought in. So Tucker, he didn't come to LA to relax. He came to chase history. And even though if the Dodgers end up getting the back-to-back-to-back, getting the three-peat, getting the 3 consecutive World Series, he would only be a part of one of them. It's like this for him would be his second World Series, if I recall correctly, because he had one over there with the Houston Astros that he won, even though he was contending in them consistently.
I thought, yeah, no, he's been around winning baseball. This is new, this is not a new experience for him to be on a good team. He's been on good teams, so he knows what competition is all about. I'm not worried about him there. I did think it was a little interesting that some of the questions to Andrew Friedman, some of the questions to Brandon Gomes were about his, I don't want to say attitude because that's the wrong word, but his demeanor, perfect word. His demeanor is very blasé, very chill, and that can sometimes come across as indifferent or disinterested. And they were asked about, are you worried about the type of guy he is, about the competitive spirit? And they both answered the question, no. But it will be. We saw Cubs fans boo him last year because he wasn't running out ground balls and things like that. It will be interesting because the Dodgers do not have guys. They have guys that are professional, but they don't have a ton of guys that are chill. They don't have a ton of guys that are, what was the word you had? Their demeanor is a little bit more removed and placid. They have guys that are a little bit more, determined than perhaps, at least on the surface. So we'll see how that works out.
But Travis, I also want to say something. I saw a graphic on social media just like floating around from an anonymous Chicago Cubs staffer on Tucker's departure, where they were saying that he checks his phone more than he checks his scouting report, that he's got all the talent in the world, but the motor, it's not there, blah, blah, blah. So here's the deal. You and I, we've been working decades in the sports media industry. There's people that now just post a graphic with a quote, and there's people who run with it. I saw that, and I started looking for an article, for an interview somewhere to confirm that that was real. I never found it. It's like people now just want to, because he's with the Dodgers, try to just be like, hey, sell him short, and being like, dude, you have to confirm these type of stuff. And it's like, people want to just put him down as like, no, he's a fantastic player, and he might not be Freddie Freeman yet. Right. He might not be Mookie Betts yet, but man, when you talk about a guy in his age 29 season coming to LA with all the talent in the world, be surrounded by even more talent, this right here, if he's going to be a complete grand slam for this organization, and if you don't see that demeanor, I can guarantee you, he's going to get into it. If it's not Shohei, Mookie, and Freddie getting into it, you got guys in that clubhouse like Miguel Rojas, who you know very closely, that are going to get him into it.
Oh, no, for sure. And I'm with you, but I have heard those same things long before he signed with the Dodgers. I heard that when he was in Houston. I heard that when he was in Chicago. So this is not new that he is potentially indifferent to the passion of the fans. And we'll leave it at that. So I don't think that that's an out of bounds quote, because I have heard it long before he signed with the Dodgers. I don't think that this is new. People that I've spoken with in and around the team also had this, we're hearing this stuff. Now they vetted it and they went out and they heard what they want. I agree with you that being around these other guys is going to help him, but I'll just throw a name at you. Talent is one thing, and then the demeanor and the passion is another. JD Drew. JD Drew was a great player, and he came in. Dodger fans hated him. They hated him. Now, the team wasn't very good. He was completely indifferent to the process of the thing. So I'm not saying he's going to be JD Drew. I'm just saying that we've seen stuff that had the same smoke around it before. I just think that this is a different situation.
And yeah, I 1000% agree that it's not the same situation and that he's in that clubhouse. He has to be a type of guy where you got to see that passion out
Well,
of
we'll
him.
see.
And
I
look,
don't know about that. Guys are guys. Guys don't change really a ton. Just because I'm around a guy that's going to be more this or that doesn't mean I'm going to match that energy. I'm going to bring my own energy. I'm going to do what I want to do. It doesn't. And by the way, he doesn't have to. He just has to perform. That's it. The rest of it is window dressing if he's performing. The only time this stuff matters is if his performance is below the line, and no one cares what you're doing if you're swinging the bat. And I think he'll swing the bat. So I don't think it's going to be much of a problem.
that's right. And look, after the Dodgers made this move, baseball has now reacted because, more specifically, the New York teams, they started making moves. Next on Locked On Dodgers, we're going to talk about how the Mets and Yankees pivoted once Tucker chose LA.
Tax season doesn't have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and go about moving on with the rest of your day. Because with TurboTax Full Service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress or guesswork. So instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person, or if you'd rather, connect online. They handle everything from W-2s to self-employed forms and work to get you every possible deduction. So you can upload your documents, go about your day, and get updates right in the TurboTax app. It is a huge time saver and gives real peace of mind knowing an expert is on it. And for a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in. If a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year, just file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit turbotax.com/local to book your appointment today.
Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. You already live your team every day. Now take it up a level and go ad-free. Join the Everydayer Club today and get Locked On Dodgers with no interruptions, members-only Discord access, and more, all for just $5 a month or $50 a year. Go to lockedondodgers.supercast.com or check the link in the show notes to learn more. After Tucker, dominoes start falling in the rest of baseball. Kyle Tucker didn't just pick the Dodgers, he forced everyone else to make a decision, and nowhere was that more obvious than New York. The Mets, fresh off of missing out on Tucker, responded the only way Steve Cohen knows how to, by accelerating everything. Last week, it was getting Bo Bichette on a big free agent deal. Then yesterday, they went out and grabbed Freddie Peralta, a proven frontline starter without blinking. This isn't a projection arm. This is a pitcher coming off of the best season of his career with postseason credibility baked in. Travis, what do you think about these moves from the Mets, who are going to be contending with the Dodgers for the National League Championship to get into the World Series after last year was a big dud for them, not even making it to the postseason?
Yeah, Steve Cohen wants to win just like the Dodger front office wants to win. The question remains whether or not he knows how to go about putting together an organization the way that the Dodgers have done it. The Dodgers, like we've talked about, for weeks, months, are not just, one of the richest teams. They're the smartest team. And Steve Cohen might be the richest guy in the whole league. Like he may be the guy that has the deepest pockets among anybody. So I expect him to be aggressive. Wasn't surprised to see that that's where Peralta ultimately ended up. They went out and got Bo Bichette earlier, so they've been incredibly aggressive and going to do what they do. And again, depending on the point of view that you want to take at this is either really good news because there's another big shark in the tank that's going to be really good and going to push the other teams in a certain way, or it's more of the same stuff that these players keep trickling to the same 5 or 6 or 8 teams, and the league is getting less and less competitive across the board. The Brewers are, if you're a Brewer fan, this would be brutal because you develop this guy, he becomes a very good player, and the second you get to start to see some fruit on the tree, he's down the road. So that's disappointing. But the Mets made a big move. I like it. The Bellinger thing is, I like Cody Bellinger because I have fond memories of him as a Dodger. I have memories of him winning the MVP, winning the Rookie of the Year, and hitting big home runs in big moments. The hit in San Francisco to win in the division series, the home runs in Arlington against the Rays when they won the World Series in 2020. But That seems like a deal that is. I'm glad that the Dodgers decided that's not for them. That's just one of those things that feels like it might age something less than great. But I'm happy for him. I'm happy he got his money, and I'm glad he gets to play on a stage where people are going to get to see him, and he'll play in some big games.
Yeah, so quick recap. We already brought up Freddie Peralta, Bo Bichette. They also got Luis Robert Jr. when it comes to the Mets, which is a solid signing for them via trade with the White Sox. They had to give up big prospects to get Freddie Peralta, but that's something where it's like, hey, man, they're only going to be paying him $8 million in 2026, and they might be the front runners to keep him if they're able to throw big money his way, and he's a great starter. He was rumored to potentially be in the Dodgers' point of view of being like, hey, if we want to add another starter, he might be a guy that we can do. But yesterday, the front office in the introductory press conference for Kyle Tucker said we're not in the market for frontline starting pitchers, which is something that maybe somebody who is in the market would want you to believe before they strike a big deal. Paul Skeens. But it's something where, okay, you look at the Mets doing that. You look at the Yankees doing that. What was the deal? 6 years for nearly $32.5 million for Bellinger. Yeah.
162.5. Yeah.
So it ended up averaging a little bit over 30 mil per year, where you look at that and be like, okay. And he has pretty much the same opt-outs that Kyle Tucker got on his deal. Scott Boras being the smartest man in the room always with those opt-outs. I feel that, hey, they had to react, because if it's not those guys, then who are you going to go after to try to convince your fan base that you're actually trying to keep up with the Los Angeles Dodgers of the world? And I like the moves that the Mets did. I like that the Yankees, instead of just standing pat and being like, okay, well, let's go with Jason Dominguez or Hassan Dominguez over there and have him be our everyday center fielder. It's like, no, man, we want to compete now. We can't just look. They can't just look at the Dodgers as their only competition. There was a team from their own division playing against the Dodgers in the World Series that has made a lot of moves in the Blue Jays, where it's like, we can't be just staying back like the Tampa Bay Rays. They have to be the New York Yankees and get somebody in, and they go with Bellinger, and those were the options that were available. If not Belly, who, Trav? Right now.
Well, I don't look at it like that. I think doing something because you feel like you have to do something is when you make really big mistakes. You should do things that make sense for your team. You should never do something that makes sense or that you're doing because someone else did something. That to me makes no sense at all. Make deals that are good deals for you, for your team, that make your team better. But just because somebody else moved doesn't mean that I have to do it. And that's one of the things that I think the Dodgers are incredibly good at, is they do things that are good for them. They do things that make sense for them. They don't care what the Giants are doing. They don't care what the Pirates are doing. They don't care what the Yankees or the Orioles or the Blue Jays or anybody else is doing. They do things that are good for them. When you do things to try to constantly, please the fans, you know who you end up like? The Lakers. And you're just stuck in the middle of nowhere where you're not bad. You're never like a bad team where you're in the lottery, but you're also not near the top, and you're not really competing for anything because well, let's try to win it this year. Sometimes you got to go 2 steps back to go 10 steps forward. And I'm not saying that's what the Bellinger deal is, but the idea that, well, you did something, so I have to do something. No, I don't. I can wait until something that makes sense for me. And I think that's what the Dodgers are so good at.
And look, he wasn't going to get $60 million a year like Kyle Tucker, but Kyle Tucker getting $60 million a year gave him the ammo to be able to go to the Yankees and be like, hey, I need at least half of that. And he got more than half of that.
Yeah, but if I'm the Yankees, I said, no, I don't have to give it to you. Why?
No,
that has nothing to do with what I want to do.
Bellinger, a couple of years ago, before he got traded by the Cubs with a kind of a down year, for him to be at this spot right now, I feel that's a big win for him, for his agency, for everybody involved in that. But look, at the end of the day, the Dodgers, they land Tucker. That makes the Mets scramble to keep up. The Yankees lock in what they already know, which Bellinger, he's coming off of a great year. And when he doesn't play the Dodgers, I hope he does good, and we'll see what it does. Same thing. We got great memories from him. I still got my Dodgers visiting Grays with Bellinger 35 on it in my closet because I'm a fan of his, and I wish him the best always for former Dodgers that grew up in this organization, that were drafted, that especially him, an MVP, a World Series champion. Let's see what happens there. And this is the Dodgers dictating the tempo right here. They move first, everyone else reacts.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think that's a dumb way to do it, but sure, if that's how you want. Look, let's use Bellinger. The Dodgers are like, no, you can leave now. Like that's the sort of decisions on that very same player. And I understand he was in a little bit of a lull, but they don't do well, we got to do something. It's like, you're not good for us anymore. You're free to leave. That is cold-blooded. That is really, really tough. They don't give a damn what's going on around them. They care what's good for them.
No doubt about it. All right, coming up on Locked On Dodgers, Clayton Kershaw might not be done pitching after all, but is it the right thing? Is it the right setting for him? Don't forget to follow Locked On Dodgers not only on YouTube, but on X, Instagram, and TikTok as well. You can find Travis on social media at Travis Rodgers on X and Instagram. I saw some really cool throwback pictures from 10 years ago with ESPN LA out there, so check them out on Instagram. Meanwhile, I'm at Harry Ruiz on X, at Harry_Ruiz on Instagram, and at Harry Ruiz_ on TikTok. Kershaw's last act won't just be in Dodger blue, but potentially in red, white, and blue. We all thought his story was finished. Perfect ending, another ring, final out in Dodger blue was in the World Series, but now there's one more chapter. He's going to be not just in the clubhouse, in the dugout for Team USA. He got recruited pretty much by Mark DeRosa as a pitcher, as a player. So right here, Travis, what is your take on this, where DeRosa brings him in as a player and not just as a, hey, you're going to be our bench coach or our honorary pitching coach? Because I don't know if I like this.
Yeah, it's funny. My first reaction was, what? But the more I thought about it, the more sense it starts to make. And I think that it's actually probably a pretty good idea. And let me explain why I think so. Number one, I don't think that Mark DeRosa is going to put Clayton Kershaw in any position to get embarrassed. I don't think he's going to put him in any sort of high leverage moment where Clayton Kershaw's final moments in a competitive baseball environment go really poorly and he's left with some sort of, taste in his mouth where he gives up some home run to Team Japan or the DR or something. And it's just like, oh my gosh, the US is out because Clayton Kershaw blew the game. I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think he will pitch in situations where he is very likely to succeed. I think they will put him in advantageous matchups where he can go out there and do his thing and have a positive outcome. I believe that to be true. Number two, even if I'm wrong, even if he goes out there and does have to pitch against Japan and the DR and Korea and some of these best teams out there, Puerto Rico and these other teams, we'll forget about it. Right, he's Clayton. We forget about Emmitt Smith as a Cardinal. We forget about Jerry Rice as a Seahawk. We forget about Akeem Olajuwon as a Toronto Raptor. Like we forget about this stuff because it just kind of fades into the background. So even if he goes out there and has something less than an ideal outcome, I don't think it's going to tarnish the way we look at it. I think Clayton Kershaw, his legacy are 1,000% cemented in positive memories as a Dodger, as a World Series champion over and over again. So I like it. I think just having him one last lap around the track with guys, with competition is a really good thing. I really would be stunned if they put him in a position where he could get his ears boxed.
And you also got to remember, back in 2023, the last World Baseball Classic, he wanted to pitch. Yeah. But there was no insurance policy that would take him and that contract to play in Team USA. And if something were to happen, the Dodgers and him be covered because of all his injury history. So now that he is done with his contract with the Dodgers, that he's out of baseball, he can actually go out there with no risk and just go and have fun with Team USA like he wanted to 3 years ago. And now that he can, the thing for me is, and look, I don't want to be disrespectful at all, there was nobody Team USA could recruit right now in their primes besides Scooball, besides Skeens, besides Logan Webb, Clay Holmes, who are all on this roster, instead of a retired Clayton Kershaw to go in and pitch. I'm pretty sure in Team Japan and Team Samurai, everyone is trying to get in their primes, and they're not trying to go for retired players to go and take a spot in that roster to win the World Baseball Classic. Like I said, no disrespect to Kershaw, my favorite Dodger ever, but a retired Kershaw versus probably somebody in their prime, nobody was able to take that spot.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. I don't think anybody wants it. And look, it's a cool tournament. I really like it. There obviously is more important to some teams than others, more important to some players than others. And the pitching is the scariest part of all, because if you're, a right fielder, you can go out there and take some at bats, and it is what it is. But if you are a pitcher and you get into an ultra competitive environment in the middle of March, that's an ask that you're typically not being asked to for about another month after that. So I understand the reluctance of some pitchers to want to jump into that. I'm glad that guys like Skeens and Scooble want to do it. I'm excited to see him go out there and do it. And again, I think that Kershaw's presence, while not officially ceremonial, will be practically ceremonial. I think that he's there for vibes more than he is for pitches.
That's almost how it felt too in the postseason for the Dodgers, right? He was there.
Had the game not gone 18 innings, I don't think we ever would have seen him in a high leverage situation. I think that's a perfect example that the situation dictated that he had to pitch in a big moment rather than the Dodgers wanting him to pitch in a big moment.
So far, now we got more interest and more reasons to watch the World Baseball Classic, with Team USA facing Brazil on March 6th. Great Britain on March 7th, Mexico on March 9th, and Italy on March 10th, all over at Dakin Park over in H-Town in Houston, Texas. Clayton Kershaw, best of luck. Like I said, I don't know if I were the manager, if I wouldn't be looking for a younger arm, because you never know. You saw it with Dave Roberts in the World Series. They ended up needing him. Fortunately, we had a couple of crazy swings on ball fours that saved him, that bailed him out and got him to get that final out in his career in Major League Baseball. We're going to get another opportunity. Let's be grateful. There you go. I'm going to switch my state of mind right there. I'm going to be grateful that I'll be able to watch Clayton Kershaw pitch again. All right, that'll do it for today's pod. Thank you so much for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. If you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Locked On Dodgers ad-free, plus members-only Discord access and more. Head to LockedOnDodgers.supercast.com to join the club. For those of you on video, we send you the first ever 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you make your second listen Locked On MLB. Travis, we'll be back soon with more, and the best part is we only got one left week in January. So spring training is around the corner, the World Baseball Classic is around the corner, and the regular season is around the corner.
I can't wait. We're getting closer every single day. The WBC, we're going to be having games before we know it. Can't wait.
No doubt about it. We appreciate you riding with us. Until next time, keep it real. Keep it Dodger Blue.